Hello everybody, my name is James, hope you're doing well and welcome back to another video, and today we're going to be talking about a new verdict that's been issued as well as comments Lewis Hamilton has made about Mercedes following qualifying for the Chinese Grand Prix. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more Formula 1 content. Also make sure to follow me on Instagram and X at James's Pit Lane. I'll leave links in the description. But let's jump straight into the video. So let's start with Mercedes, and as we know, they locked out the front row in qualifying for the Chinese Grand Prix, with Kimi Antonelli going fastest and George Russell P2, and with Antonelli taking pole position, he's now the youngest ever pole sitter in Formula 1, so a really good job from Antonelli. Now it was actually Russell who was favourite for pole position. I mean, he was fast in practice, took the sprint pole, won the sprint race, but qualifying was not smooth for Russell. I mean, in Q2 he seemed to have a front wing issue which caused him a lot of understeer, and that was changed for Q3. And then at the start of Q3, Russell stopped out on track at turn 3, and when he eventually got the car going again, he could not change gears during a very slow lap back to the pits. Now, Motorsport.com say that Mercedes says it's still investigating the cause of the issue, which caused Russell's car to go into anti-stall mode shortly after leaving the garage, halting on track, and then remaining stuck in first gear after he got it started again. And with time ticking away, the team essentially had to resort to the time-honoured IT department strategy of turning the car off and then back on again, running through various default settings, swapping the steering wheel, and effecting a reset. And at the end of Q3, Russell was able to get a lap in with seconds to spare. And speaking about it, Russell said, as quoted by Motorsport.com, "It was just a crazy session from the end of Q2. The front wing broke and the team weren't sure if it had broken or not. I was pretty convinced it had, and there was a bit of stress around that and changing the front wing. And then as soon as I went out on the track, I could tell something wasn't right. Stopping on the track, trying to restart the car, it didn't restart. Then it started later, got back, and couldn't shift gears. And then obviously we just made it on track with seconds to spare. So really happy to be sat here right now, because I could easily have been down in P10 without a time on the board." Now actually Russell did a really good job. I mean, his car was not in the right window to do a qualifying lap at the end of Q3, and he was just 2/10 down on Antonelli. And speaking about that, Russell said, as quoted by Motorsport.com, "It was as good as I could have achieved, but I had no battery to start my lap and my tyres were cold, but I'm grateful to be sitting here right now. It was more of a case of getting a time on the board. I knew Kimi's been really strong and things were far from optimised my side, so it was more of a case of get the car across the line and make sure I'm starting in a sensible position. P2 was much better than I expected when I started the lap with no battery and no tyre temperature. I was expecting to be further down the order, so as I said, just really glad to be here." Now I think this also shows how good the Mercedes car is. I mean, the car was not in a good window to start a qualifying lap, yet Russell is managing to put the car in P2. And as we know, Mercedes have locked out every front row at every opportunity in 2026. And now Ferrari driver Lewis Hamilton claims to know why Mercedes is proving so untouchable over one lap in 2026. Basically, according to Hamilton, party mode is back, with Hamilton alleging that his former team Mercedes taps into this apparent extra mode come Q2, and it leaves Ferrari powerless to compete with the silver arrows in qualifying trim. Now, the original party mode ceased to be in 2020 when the FIA brought in a new ruling which mandated teams use the same power unit mode for both qualifying and the race. And after qualifying in P3 for the Chinese Grand Prix, Hamilton said, as quoted by Planet F1, "I was with Mercedes for a long time, so I know how it works there. In qualifying, they have another mode that they're able to go to, a bit like a party mode back in the day. And once they get to Q2, they switch that on, and we don't have that, so whatever that is. And then in the race, they obviously don't have that mode, so they still obviously have an advantage overall. We've got to figure out what that is, but there's something more they're able to extract, particularly in Q2. You see in Q1, we're not that far away, and then all of a sudden it's like a huge step, a tenth in Q1 behind I think it was, and then all of a sudden it's 7/10 or another half a second. It's a big step. But let's move on to Alpine, who have been fined €5,000 for an unusual incident involving Pierre Gasly at the start of the Chinese Grand Prix sprint. Basically, on the way to the grid, a cover flew off the pilot tubes and landed on the track, with this prompting an investigation into the team releasing the car from the pits in an unsafe manner. And following an investigation after the sprint, it was discovered that Gasly left the Alpine garage with an antenna field still fitted to the car, resulting in a fine for Alpine. The steward's verdict said, the stewards determined that by releasing the car with the antenna shield still connected, the team released car 10 in an unsafe condition. While not a large nor heavy object, the shield could have struck another driver or car on the track when it dislodged and caused injury or damage. The stewards accept that the team believed that the shield would remain in place until it reached the grid, but that belief was clearly misplaced. The team ought to have instructed the driver to stop the car before it entered the track. But that's going to be the video from me today. Thank you ever so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos, and until the next one, take care.